The words weren't just spoken. They were a physical force that nearly knocked me off my feet. I was standing in the doorway of what I had believed, until that very second, was our home. My husband, Gregory, sat at the dining table, his expression a cold, vacant mask. He looked at me, as if I were a stranger who had long overstayed her welcome. Just behind him, his sister Denise leaned against the wall with her arms crossed, a smug smirk plastered on her face, savoring every moment of my downfall. My name is Evelyn. I'm 37, and for the last 15 years, I had poured every ounce of myself into my marriage and my husband's family. I set aside a promising career as a financial consultant to put Gregory through business school. I spent 3 years nursing his ailing father through a slow, painful decline. I tolerated endless holidays with his insufferable relatives, who consistently treated me like the hired help. And this was how it all ended. Gregory, what are you talking about? My voice was a fragile, trembling thing. This is our home. It was your home. Denise cut in, her tone dripping with venomous satisfaction. Dad left Gregory everything. The entire estate, the stocks, all of it. And Gregory has decided he's done carrying dead weight. My eyes shot to my husband, pleading with him to deny it, to tell his sister to stop this twisted, sick joke. But he just sat there, his gaze locked on me, with an icy detachment I hardly recognized. The lawyer went over the will yesterday, Gregory said, his voice flat and final. I'm the sole heir to the estate. That includes $33 million in stocks, the house here in Seattle, and the vacation home in Vermont. I've decided it's time for us to go our separate ways. My knees felt like they might buckle. Separate ways. Gregory, we've been married for 15 years. 15 wasted years. He retorted, rising from his chair and striding toward me. Let's be real, Evelyn. You haven't held a job in over a decade. You have no personal income, no assets to your name. You've been coasting on my father's generosity. And now that he's gone, there's no point in keeping up the pretense. Pretense. The word was a choked whisper. Denise let out a harsh, grating laugh. Oh please. Did you really think we didn't know? You married him for his family's money. Everyone saw it. You were just some little consultant who saw a meal ticket and latched on. That's not true, I protested. But the words felt hollow as soon as they left my mouth. They had already cast me as the villain in their story. Nothing I said could change the script. I want you out by the end of the week, Gregory commanded, turning his back on me, as if I had already vanished. Take your personal effects, and that's it. The furniture, the artwork, even the jewelry I gave you, it all stays. Consider it repayment for years of living rent-free. I stood there, paralyzed, my mind struggling to catch up with the reality of what was happening. This couldn't be real. The man I had loved, the one I had sacrificed everything for, was casually tossing me out with the trash the second he came into money. Where am I supposed to go? I hated how small and weak my voice sounded. That's not my problem anymore, he said without a backward glance. You're a smart woman. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Maybe try getting a job for once. Denise glided closer, her cruel smile widening. My brother has been carrying you for years, Evelyn. It's time to stand on your own 2 feet, if you can even remember how. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to tell them exactly what I thought of their monstrous cruelty. Instead, a chilling calm settled over me. I turned and walked silently toward our bedroom, my hands shaking as I pulled my phone from my purse. There was only one person I could call. Lawrence, it's Evelyn. I need your help. My lawyer, Lawrence, had been a friend since college. He'd handled the prenuptial agreement all those years ago, a document that felt like a mere formality at the time, something Gregory's father insisted on that we'd surely never need. Evelyn, what is it? You sound terrible. Gregory just threw me out. His father passed last week and left him everything. $33 million, the properties, the works. He's giving me until the end of the week to pack my bags and leave. There was a moment of silence on the line. And then, Lawrence did something I never would have anticipated. He laughed. It wasn't a polite chuckle, it was a deep, Genuine belly laugh that seemed to go on forever. "Lawrence, this isn't funny," I said, hot tears finally stinging my eyes. "Oh, Evelyn," he managed, catching his breath. "I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at your husband. Is he really that stupid?" "What are you talking about?" "Check your email in 5 minutes. I'm sending you a file that is going to make your day infinitely better. Trust me." He hung up before I could ask another question, leaving me standing alone in the bedroom. Gregory's venomous words echoing in my ears as a tiny spark of hope began to flicker in the darkness. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my gaze fixed on my phone, waiting for the email. The room around me already felt alien, like I was a ghost haunting a life that was no longer mine. Down the hall, I could hear Gregory and Denise laughing, their voices sharp with a celebratory edge that churned my stomach. My mind reeled backward, trying to pinpoint how we got here, replaying all the moments I'd dismissed as rough patches or temporary stress. But now, with the painful clarity of hindsight, I could finally see the pattern I had been too blind to acknowledge. We met 16 years ago at a corporate networking event in Minneapolis. I was 21, fresh out of college with a finance degree and a position at a small consulting firm. He was 25, charming and ambitious, working for his father's investment company while finishing his MBA. His father, Walter, ran a successful portfolio management firm that had made the family wealthy, though not extravagantly so at that point. I fell for Gregory hard and fast. Audrin. He was confident and attentive, painting a beautiful picture of a future we would build together as equal partners. When he proposed a year later, my yes was immediate and absolute. The cracks started small. His mother had passed away when he was young, and Walter had remarried a woman named Judith, who brought her daughter, Denise, into the family. 3 years younger than Gregory, Denise was spoiled, entitled, and made it clear from day one that I wasn't good enough for her stepbrother. "You're from where?" "Some little town in Montana." She'd scoffed at our engagement party, eyeing my dress as if it were a burlap sack. "How quaint. I'm sure you'll adjust to our world eventually." Walter had always been kind but distant. He was the one who insisted on the prenup, which I signed without a second thought. I had nothing to protect, and Gregory promised it was just his father being overly cautious. The terms seemed simple. If we ever divorced, we would each leave with what we'd brought into the marriage, plus an equal share of any assets we acquired together, dollars and. What I didn't realize then was that Walter had included other provisions, clauses that Lawrence had tried to explain, but that I'd glossed over, lost in the whirlwind of wedding planning. After we were married, I dedicated myself to being the perfect, supportive wife. Gregory's career was demanding, and his father expected him to prove his worth at the firm. I kept my consulting job for the first couple of years, but Gregory began to complain that I was never available for his business dinners and family functions. "Evelyn, do you really need this job?" He'd asked one night after a client deadline forced me to miss one of Walter's parties. "We don't need the money. My family expects you to be by my side." I resisted at first, but he chipped away at my resolve with a mix of guilt and logic until I finally gave in, telling myself I'd return to my career after we had kids. But the children never came. We tried for years, enduring 2 emotionally and physically draining rounds of fertility treatments. With each failure, Gregory grew more distant, until he finally gave up entirely. "Maybe it's for the best," he'd said coldly. "Kids are expensive. They just complicate things." I was heartbroken, but I buried my grief and channeled my energy into being the perfect wife in other ways. That role expanded when Walter got sick. Parkinson's disease slowly stole his independence, and Judith made it clear she had no interest in being a caregiver. Denise was even more useless, always too busy with her social life. So, the responsibility fell to me. I managed his appointments, sorted his medications, and sat with him on his darkest days. Gregory was always too busy, but he'd offer hollow praise for my devotion. "You're doing an amazing job, Evelyn," he said once. "Dad is lucky to have you. We all are." I actually believed him. I thought I was investing in a family, forging bonds that would last a lifetime, even when Denise would make snide remarks about me being Walter's unpaid nurse. I brushed them aside, convinced that Gregory's appreciation was all that mattered. Walter passed away 3 weeks ago. The funeral was last Tuesday. I stood by Gregory's side the entire time, holding his hand as he delivered off course. Here is the continuation of the script, rewritten to maintain the same tone, flow, and high quality as the first part. Kamkal's rewritten script, sus continuation. At the funeral, Denise had put on a show of dramatic sobs, clinging to Gregory's arm, while Judith sat like a statue in the front row. The will was read the next day, but I didn't go. Gregory had told me it was a simple formality, that his father's affairs were all in order. He came home that evening quiet and unreadable, and I gave him what I thought was space to grieve. I should have known something was wrong when Denise appeared this morning wearing that triumphant smirk. I should have realized their whispered conversation in his study spelled trouble. But I was too trusting, too naive, right up until the very end. My phone vibrated on the bedspread. Lawrence's email was here. With a trembling hand, I opened it. My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. The subject line was brief: read this. Do not speak to Gregory. The email had a single PDF attachment, Walter's last will and testament. Lawrence had highlighted a section on page 7, a clause I never knew was there. I read it once, then again, my pulse accelerating with every word. It seemed impossible, a fantasy, but the legal language was undeniable. All stocks, properties, and liquid assets bequeathed to my son, Gregory Walter Thompson, are conditional. Any sale, transfer, or liquidation of said assets, exceeding a cumulative value of $25,000, a 25 zalozanodas, within the first 2 years of my passing requires the express written and witnessed consent of his spouse, Evelyn Marie Thompson. Failure to procure this consent will render the transaction void and immediately trigger a forfeiture, wherein 75% of the entire estate shall be transferred to Evelyn Marie Thompson, and the remaining 25%, the 25%, shall be placed in a charitable trust. My hand flew to my mouth as a choked laugh escaped. Below the highlighted text was a personal note from Lawrence. Evelyn, Walter added this 3 years ago, shortly after you began caring for him full-time. He never told Gregory. He wanted to see if his son would honor his marriage, or if the money would reveal his true colors. Well, it seems Gregory just revealed them in the most spectacular way possible. Say nothing yet. Let him make his moves. Every financial step he takes without your signature is another trigger. A man who just inherited $33 million isn't going to let it sit. He'll start moving assets immediately. Call me when you're ready. We're about to make him regret every single word. Walter had known. That kind, frail man I'd cared for had seen the truth. I'd been too blind to see. He'd seen his son's character for what it was, and had built me a fortress, even from beyond the grave. My phone buzzed again, a new text from Lawrence. By the way, check the deed for your house. Walter never transferred ownership to Gregory. He placed it in a trust with you, as the sole beneficiary 2 years into your marriage. Your husband doesn't own the home he just kicked you out of. You do. As I rose from the bed, my legs steady now. The weakness was gone, replaced by a cold, clarifying purpose. This wasn't about emotion anymore. This was about justice. From down the hall, I could hear Gregory on the phone, his voice booming with excitement. Yeah, I know.
Finally free!
I'm already on the phone with a broker about liquidating some of the portfolio. Going to finally buy that boat I've had my eye on. No, she'll be out of here by the weekend. Good riddance. I walked silently down the hallway, staying out of sight. Denise was in the kitchen, her voice floating through the doorway. It's about time, she was saying to someone on her phone. Gregory's wanted to dump her for years, but Dad kept guilt, tripping him about how much she did for everyone. Well, Dad's gone, and so is the dead weight. We're finally free. I slipped back into the bedroom and pulled my suitcase from the closet, making sure to make enough noise as I opened drawers. Let them think they'd won. Let them see me as defeated and broken, slinking away. Another text arrived from Lawrence. Just got a tip from my contact at the brokerage. Gregory has initiated the sale of $5 million in stock. It's set to clear tomorrow. The moment that transaction finalizes without your signature, the forfeiture clause activates. Everything becomes yours. The paperwork is being drafted as we speak. I typed back, my fingers flying. How long should I wait? As long as you want, he replied. The clause is ironclad, but I recommend we let at least one major sale go through. It makes our case indisputable. Plus, it'll be that much sweeter when he realizes what he's done. I glanced around the bedroom. At the expensive art and designer furniture, none of it had ever mattered. What mattered was that I had loved a man who had only seen me as a temporary convenience. But Walter had seen me, and he had made sure his son would face the consequences of his cruelty. I zipped my suitcase, my movements calm and deliberate. I'd pack a few days' worth of clothes and leave everything else. Let Gregory celebrate his phantom inheritance. Let him start spending money that was no longer his. And when the time was right, I would show him exactly what being useless really meant. As I walked out with my suitcase, I passed Gregory in the hall. He gave me a look of pure satisfaction. Smart choice, he sneered. Lad, you decided to be reasonable. I offered him a genuine, placid smile that seemed to confuse him. Oh, Gregory, I said softly. You have no idea. I left him standing there looking puzzled, walked out the front door, and drove away from the house that was, in fact, mine. The real story was just beginning. I checked into a modest hotel downtown, not because I couldn't afford better, but to maintain the illusion of a woman struggling. Lawrence's advice was to stay off the radar while we documented every illegal move Gregory made. The psychology is key, he'd explained. He thinks he's won. He's going to be arrogant and reckless. Every purchase he makes is another nail in his own coffin. The $5 million stock sale cleared the next afternoon. Gregory immediately bought a new luxury car, put a down payment on a yacht, and purchased a $50,000 watch. Lawrence sent me the screenshots. He's not wasting any time, I murmured. They never do, Lawrence replied. Men like that think money makes them invincible. My phone rang. It was Gregory. I let it go to voicemail. Evelyn. His message began. Zozen, I'm willing to be generous and give you $50,000 to get on your feet, but you need to sign the divorce papers. Let's handle this like adults. $50,000. His generosity was breathtaking. I called Lawrence instead. His offering me a pittance to sign divorce papers. Lawrence's delighted laugh echoed down the line. Let him send them. We'll find every insulting clause. Meanwhile, he keeps spending money that already belongs to you. This gets better by the minute. The next day, I sat in Lawrence's sleek office overlooking the harbor. This is insulting, he said, flipping through the papers from Gregory's lawyer. He's claiming you contributed nothing and is asking you to waive all claims to Walter's estate. He's trying to get you to sign away rights you don't even know you have. What now? I asked. Now, we wait. Let him think you're considering it. I showed him the latest updates. Gregory had sold another $3 million in stock and was in talks to buy a condo in Los Angeles. He and Denise were also planning a 2-week trip to Europe. Lawrence leaned back, a grin spreading across his face. Evelyn, your husband is a fool. His lawyer is incompetent for missing that clause. Let him take the trip. Let him get comfortable. The deeper he digs this hole, the more devastating it will be when we pull the ladder out. Over the next 10 days, I played the part of the heartbroken ex-wife. I let mutual acquaintances see me looking lost and sad. The story of my quiet suffering made its way back to Gregory, just as we planned. Meanwhile, Denise's social media was a highlight reel of their new life, the yacht, the shopping sprees, the champagne. One of Gregory's posts stood out, a photo of him and Denise on the boat, smiling. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to cut out the dead weight to truly soar. Here's to family and freedom. Dad would be proud." I screenshotted it and sent it to Lawrence. His reply was immediate, perfect. His own words will bury him. Then, on the 10th day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Evelyn, it's Judith. I froze. Walter's widow. Judith. I wasn't expecting your call. I'm sure you weren't, she said, her voice cool and crisp. I think we should talk. We met at a quiet coffee shop. Judith looked at me with her sharp, assessing eyes. You look terrible, she stated. It's been a difficult time. I imagine, she said, taking a sip of espresso. Dinas called me the day Gregory kicked you out, giddy with excitement. They think they've won. But that all depends on Walter's little insurance policy. My heart leaped. You know about the clause. Of course. I was with him when he added it, she said, leaning forward. I'm not telling you this because I like you, Evelyn. I'm telling you this because I respected my husband. And he wanted you to know the truth. She slid a folder across the table. It was filled with transcripts of recorded conversations between Walter and Gregory, and text messages between Gregory and Denise. I opened it, my hands shaking. The first transcript was from 2 years ago. Gregory's voice was clear on the page. Dad, she's playing the long game. She doesn't actually care about you. Once you're gone, I'll handle her. She won't see a dime. I felt sick. All that time. He'd been planning this. There's more, Judith said quietly. I turned to a text exchange between Gregory and Denise from 6 months ago. The moment Dad's gone, she's gone. Gregory had written. The prenup is airtight. She gets nothing. I closed the folder, unable to read another word, refusing to let the tears fall. Why are you showing me this? Because Walter asked me to, she said simply. He knew his son. And he wanted you to have this. She reached into her purse and pulled out a sealed envelope. He wrote this for you before he died. He said to give it to you only after Gregory showed his true colors. I took the letter. The shaky handwriting was Walter's. To Evelyn, the daughter I should have had. When you destroy my stepson, and I have no doubt you will, Judith said, standing to leave, make sure he knows his father saw everything, and that in the end, Walter chose you. Back in my hotel room, I opened the letter. My dear Evelyn, it began. If you are reading this, it means my son has done what I always feared he would. I am so sorry. You deserved so much better. The kindness you showed me in my final years was a gift. You believed in family and loyalty, qualities my son never understood. I have taken steps to protect you. The clause in the will is your shield and your sword. Use it. Do not feel a moment's guilt. He does not deserve the legacy I built, and he certainly never deserved you. There is more. The house you shared, the home he just threw you out of. I transferred it into a trust for you 2 years ago. It is yours, Evelyn. Everything in it is legally yours. Live well. Find happiness. And know that a part of me is watching over you, proud of the strength you are about to show. Hyler's eye read Walter's letter 3 times, tears blurring the ink on the page. They weren't tears of sadness, but of a powerful, cleansing vindication. It was the profound relief of knowing that someone had seen me, truly seen me, and believed I was worth protecting. I called Lawrence immediately. I have more evidence, I said, my voice steady. A lot more, and I think we're done waiting. He was at my hotel within the hour. I laid it all out for Hims, Judith's folder with the damning transcripts, Walter's heartfelt letter, and the latest financial statements showing Gregory had now burned through over $8 million. Lawrence's eyes widened as he read. This changes the entire game, he said, his voice charged with energy. With this evidence, this is no longer just a breach of contract. This is premeditated fraud. We can prove he knew about the conditions and acted with malicious intent. So, what's our next move? Now, we go nuclear, he said. We file an emergency petition to have all his accounts frozen. We present this evidence and demand the immediate enforcement of the penalty clause. Then, we file for divorce on our terms, armed with irrefutable proof of his financial and emotional abuse. The thought of Gregory on his yacht, oblivious, flashed through my mind. Walter's letter also confirmed the house is in a trust for me. Lawrence's eyes lit up. He was already typing on his laptop. Give me the address. A few minutes later, a triumphant grin spread across his face. Found it. Transferred to a family trust 3 years ago. You are the sole beneficiary. Current market value, 2.3 million. He's been squatting in your house, Evelyn. When does he leave for his Europe trip? His social media says tomorrow afternoon. I answered, a cold calm settling over me. Let him go. File everything the morning he's gone. By the time he lands in Paris, his world will be gone too. Lawrence looked at me with a newfound respect. You've gotten cold, Evelyn. I like it. That night, I replayed my marriage in my mind, not with regret, but with a detached clarity. I finally understood what Walter had meant when he'd looked at me in the garden and said, he loves what you do for him. There's a crucial difference. I hadn't understood then. I did now. The next morning, I dressed in a sharp business suit and looked in the mirror. The woman staring back was not the broken person Gregory had discarded. She was someone new. At 9:00 a.m., Lawrence called. It's all filed. The judge has it. The freeze order should come through this afternoon. Perfect timing. At 2:00 p.m., Gregory posted a photo from the airport lounge. He and Denise, sunglasses on, champagne flutes in hand.